Hello everyone, I'm Professor Plink. I respond to various theological and ideological questions and claims from a rationalistic and naturalistic approach in an effort to give and explain the opposite viewpoint and help to balance the conversation. Before we get into today's video, shout out to my most recent super thankers, Iggy Gray, John Ackerman, and Piao Meow Noir. Thank you so much for your kindly donation to my channel. You are the godless roller coaster to my atheist theme park. Thank you for helping me continue to do what I do. Now, on to today's video. So let me place my cards on the table right at the outset. I am not a fan of Todd Friel of Wretched Radio. Now, obviously, I disagree with him philosophically. I don't believe that the God that he spends his life and career attempting to push on others actually exists. But I've dealt with many apologists in that same vein whom I have no real problem with. I find fault and flaws with their arguments, and I argue against their theological positions, absolutely. But I've never actually disliked any of them or found them irritating as people. But that just isn't the case with Todd. There's just something about him that rubs me the wrong way.
God damn it, I don't know what it is about your face, but I want to deliver one of these right in your suck hole.
Is there anything I can do to work on that?
No, not really. It's your face.
But being a counter-apologetics channel, it was really only a matter of time before I was bound to have to cover Todd at some point. I just wanted to go in honest about where I stood on the guy. But I always attempt to deal with the content of a person's claims rather than immutable characteristics that set my mood to annoyed. So let's give Todd a listen and see what he has to say on the subject of what would happen if atheists had their way.
I'm going to make a prediction that the following will happen in the next 3 years. Why? Because we are not in a culture war. We are in a God battle. The forces, the ideologies, the worldviews that you see that are driving you bonkers these days are not merely about social change. It's not about fundamentally remaking America. It is about the Tower of Babel, kicking God off of his throne.
Wait, what is going to happen in the next 3 years? Todd, you skipped right past the actual prediction that you were supposed to make and went straight into the explanation of why that prediction is supposedly going to come true. Todd, you have to make the prediction first, buddy. You need to give us the what before you explain the why. I mean, that's just rhetoric 101. You make the claim, then explain your thought processes that got you there, not the other way around. But fine, let's deal with this motivation for the prediction before we get to the prediction itself, I guess. So you claim the culture is in a God battle. Well, no, not so much. At least not from any secular perspective. I mean, maybe you Christians are in a God battle with Muslims or Hindus or even Jews who tell you that your Messiah wasn't actually the Messiah. But that's between you and the other theists. I don't particularly care what kind of Sharks versus Jets style God rumble you folks get yourself riled up into on a Saturday night. But as far as any secular person is concerned, there is no battle to be had. The only fight we're concerned with is the fight to not be subjected to your religious mandates. The fight to be free from being subjected to the encroaching dogma of a religion that we don't believe in. I mean, Todd, do you want to be legally forbidden to eat a hamburger because the cow is sacred to Hindus? No? Well, why not? Because you're not a Hindu? Then maybe we don't want our kids taught that God made the world in 7 days 6,000 years ago just because that's what it says in the Bible. That's the only fight that atheists have with you. The fight to not be forced through legal mandate or state sponsorship to adhere to your Christian worldview. And if that seems like a battle to you, if that seems like you are being culturally oppressed by the big atheist meanies out there, then that sort of shows just how much of a privileged position Christianity has always held in our society. Because to the privileged, equality always feels like oppression.
Therefore, if that assessment is right, and it is because I'm a talk show host, it won't be long before atheists, unbelievers insist we got to get rid of that national motto. You may recall Revolution history, Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin, John Adams. They wanted the national motto to be out of the many one, e pluribus unum.
Just as a quick aside here, I don't know where that clip was from, but is that a young Mr. Feeney?
Mr. Feeney? Mr. Feeney!
Right here, Mr. Matthews.
E pluribus unum. It never was codified. 1956, Ike determined it's going to be in God we trust. In 2008, well, it was just a little gaffe. President Obama, in his international apology tour, he said that the national motto is E pluribus unum.
Bound by a creed as old as our founding. E pluribus unum. Out of many, we are one.
Boing. I guess he just forgot.
No, Todd. He did not say that E pluribus unum was the national motto. Why would you claim he said something, then play a clip of him supposedly saying it, and then he didn't actually say it? He said it was a saying as old as our nation's founding, which you yourself admitted to when you said that the founding fathers wanted it to be the official motto of the country. Now, Obama used that slogan in several speeches that he gave all over the place during his time as president. So it's actually possible that he might have referred to it as the national motto of the United States during a speech or two, despite your inability to find an example of him doing so. But even if he had, it wouldn't have been wrong of him to say that, because E pluribus unum wasn't just a kinda, sorta, well-liked phrase. It wasn't just something suggested by the Founding Fathers, but then quickly pushed aside and forgotten. It is a traditional motto of the United States, appearing on the Great Seal. It's on our money. Its inclusion on the seal was approved by an act of Congress in 1782. While its status as national motto was for many years unofficial, E pluribus unum was still considered the de facto motto of the United States from its early history onward. So it was more or less the motto of our country from the time of its suggestion in 1776 until In God We Trust was officially adopted in 1956. So E pluribus unum was the motto for 180 years. In contrast, In God We Trust has only been the motto for a mere 66 years. So this was a really shoddy attempt to make it seem like Obama was saying something stupid or untrue when A, it wouldn't be untrue to say E pluribus unum was the motto of the United States, and B, he didn't even claim that it was to begin with.
Boing.
I don't even hear what you're saying right now because your face is driving me nuts.
2011, Eric Cantor decided we need to ratify and make sure that we all agree In God We Trust is the national motto. And that resolution, it wasn't a law, but it wasn't just crossing their fingers, hopeful, wishful thinking. It was a resolution that said In God We Trust is the national motto. Because even then, thanks to people like Dan Barker at the Freedom from Religion Foundation,
if your God did exist, I would proudly go to hell.
They were making efforts to take God off of our coinage. I would like to predict within the next 3 years.
Oh, are we actually getting back to the prediction now? I had totally forgotten about it. We're 2 minutes and 11 seconds into this less than 6 minute video, and you're finally getting to the prediction you started saying in the opening seconds? Boy, we took a long way around to get here, but we're finally here. Todd's prediction for the next 3 years. I wait with bated breath. Todd, hit me with your best shot.
They were making efforts to take God off of our coinage. I would like to predict within the next 3 years, we're going to see a massive run to do it again.
A massive run to get In God We Trust removed as the national motto. That's your big prediction about the priorities of the atheist community when it comes to religious encroachment into the state? Todd, buddy, Boobala. We secularism proponents are a little busy dealing with things like trying to get reproductive rights enshrined into law, keeping Christian creationism out of the classroom, fighting for trans rights, affirming gender identity rights, keeping Clarence Thomas from overturning gay marriage, outlawing gay conversion therapy, giving gay couples the right to adopt children, ending Christian nationalism, stopping religious persecution by Christians on non-Christian faiths, keeping tax-exempt religious organizations out of political campaigning and political fundraising, and generally trying to uphold the Establishment Clause of the First Amendment of the United States, prohibiting favoritism towards any religion over any other, which is every day what Christians all over this country are trying to make happen. We're a little too busy with all of that to give the first flying fuck what is printed on the cash that we rarely use anymore anyway. We've got some other more pressing things on our plates at the moment.
And because I'm a Christian and I want to help our atheist friends.
Oh, that's okay, Todd. Your kind of help we can really do without.
I've written some mottos that feel free to adopt these. If you'd like to change the coinage, I have some mottos that atheists really should consider using because, well, I think these, in a pithy fashion, accurately describe your worldview.
Well, atheism isn't a worldview. But I mean, that's one of those things that we've already said about a bajillion times, just as a conservative estimate, and yet Christians like you still refuse to get it through your thick skulls. So why start paying even the slightest bit of attention to us now, when being ignorant wretches has always worked so well for you so far? So why quit now? Am I right, Todd? So let's hear what I'm sure will be totally fair-minded, serious attempts to encapsulate the secular mindset, with absolutely no snarky strawmanning or willful misrepresentation of people of a different ideological standpoint whatsoever. Because that kind of honest and respectful discourse is exactly the kind of thing that we've all come to know and love about Todd Friel.
Do I detect a note of sarcasm?
Are you kidding me? This baby is off the charts. Why?
A sarcasm detector. Well, that's a really useful invention.
So here we go, Jimmy. I've got myself our new national motto possibilities.
I'm ready.
In government we trust. That would be, I love myself. Because we are a therapeutic society. Our favorite subject is me. How's about this one? This is really pithy. Let's sin. Or third world, here we come. I think that's a pretty good one because that's what it seems that they're aiming for.
So let's tackle these first few before Todd tickles his own funny bone again with more of these. So first he had, in government we trust. Well, the American government has been a thinly veiled theocracy for about as long as we've been a country, and we certainly don't trust in that. Not to mention the aforementioned problem of Christian nationalism, which has had major inroads into government with people like Lauren Boebert and Marjorie Taylor Greene openly advocating for Christian nationalism. So no, atheists are not particularly fans of trusting a theocratic government that is seeking to force religion on the people through legislation. But I would think people like you would love it, Todd. Second up was, I love myself. Well, I know you do, Todd. That is plainly apparent in every condescension-dripping word from your mouth. And again, this seems to be right up the Christian fundamentalist's alley as a slogan. Seeing as Christians often need to think themselves as so super special, believing themselves to be uniquely favored by an all-powerful, all-knowing deity. Not just the most special among all living things, but the most special even among other humans who aren't followers of God's favorite religion. Hell, half of all Christian teaching seems to be rooted in a mindset of, I'm so damn special, literally the entire universe was made just for me and people like me. I mean, isn't one of the common Christian gripes about atheists is that we don't think humans are the cosmically favored life form, and that we're just animals just like every other animal? Is there really anything more self-aggrandizing than believing oneself to be made in the very image of God? So there's another one that you Christians should probably take for yourself. Then we've got up next, let's sin. Well, sin is defined as an immoral act considered to be a transgression against divine law. We atheists don't believe in God. Hence, we don't believe that there is divine law. Hence, we don't believe that sin is even a thing. So no, we atheists would never say something like that. However, turning it around once again, you Christians do believe in sin. And you believe that going against the edicts that were laid down in the Bible constitutes sin. Like in Leviticus 11:9, where it says, "These you may eat of all that are in the waters, everything in the waters that has fins and scales, whether in the sea or in the rivers, you may eat. But anything in the seas or the rivers that has not fins and scales, or the swarming creatures in the waters, and of the living creatures that are in the waters, is detestable to you. You shall regard them as detestable. You shall not eat any of their flesh, and you shall detest their carcasses. Everything in the waters that has not fins and scales is detestable to you." This would prohibit the eating of shrimp, crab, or lobster. Ever eaten any of these, Todd? If you have actively engaged in what you should hold to be sin. Then there's later in Leviticus 19:19, "You shall keep my statutes. You shall not let your cattle breed with a different kind. You shall not sow your field with two kinds of seed, nor shall you wear a garment of cloth made of two kinds of material." I hope that nice suit isn't a poly blend, Todd, because that would be sinful behavior. So if you've ever eaten at Red Lobster or worn most any kind of a t-shirt, you've done so enthusiastically, then it seems to me that "let's sin" should again be a motto more befitting your ilk than mine, Todd. Then you had third world, here we come, implying that more secularism, more atheism, leads to third world conditions within a society. But, dagnabbit, if that just doesn't run counter to, all of the evidence. Let's look at a map of countries broken down by third world status, or least developed countries. And would you look at that? The countries that are in the most dire straits, that would be the deep red countries, tend to be some of the most dogmatically religious in the world. While all of those pretty dark blue and light blue countries, the ones in good or satisfactory conditions, yeah, those are among the most atheistic countries. In fact, the United States doesn't even make the highest level. It's giving way to even more atheistic countries like Norway and Sweden. So, another fail there. So let's see what else you've got, Todd. I'm sure there's plenty more in your big bag of epic fail to go yet.
Almighty ISIS, why not? As long as we're going to be a pagan society. The smartest generation. And related to that, if you don't like that, we could just use as our new national motto, old people are stupid, because we think that anybody who was born before us couldn't possibly know as much as we do. The national motto could be, we kill babies and pay for it.
And Todd is not disappointing with yet more epic fails. So up next is Almighty Isis. Isis is the Egyptian god of the dead. Atheists don't believe in any god or gods. Hence, atheists don't believe in Isis. Atheists are not pagans. You should know this, Todd. I know not to expect too much from you, but honestly, it's really not that complicated. Atheists don't believe in God. Up next was the smartest generation. I'm not sure what this has to do with atheism. In general, everyone tends to think that their generation is the smartest. Call it generational nepotism, I suppose. So this slogan seems that it would work for just about anyone. You don't bother to say which generation you're talking about on it. Todd, do you think all atheists belong to, what, the current youngest generation? That would be Generation Z. But aren't millennials the generation that is most politically active and with the highest concentration of atheists and secular enthusiasts right now? I mean, Generation Z can't even vote yet. But then what about me? I'm Gen X, and there's a fair number of atheists in my, and I guess it would also be your generation too. Then there is, of course, the baby boomers. That would include Dan Barker, which you used earlier in your video as an example of an atheist trying to excise "In God We Trust" as the national motto. So which generation are you even talking about with this one? And wouldn't anyone holding that particular dollar bill with that slogan on it, be they 8 or 80, think that it was referring to their generation? So maybe clarify what you're talking about next time. Then your next one was, old people are stupid. Again, I don't see what this has to do with atheism, other than that there is a larger percentage of atheists in younger demographics. But that has more to do with lifelong indoctrination being harder to break at 60 than it is at 20. It has nothing to do with intelligence. And there's no push from atheists that I'm aware of that claims otherwise. But even among those middle-aged up to age 50, about 1 in 5 people have no religious affiliation, which would put them right in line with secular enthusiasts, even if they happen to believe in some form of God. So it would be hard to claim as a blanket statement that all old people are stupid with numbers like that on our side. Then you round off this group of slogans with, "We kill babies and pay for it." Well, let me retort with a nice slogan for pro-life Christians like yourself. You might like something like, "Pregnant women are biological slaves and breeding stock." Since, that's the only autonomy you're willing to afford pregnant people. Someone who is pregnant is little more than an incubator with a pulse in your eyes, right, Todd? Don't try to play the moral high ground when you are trying to literally be every bad guy from A Handmaid's Tale.
And we could also put on it, if we don't like that, we mutilate 8-year-olds who are confused about things. And finally, my offer to you, my atheist friend, if you're thinking about new national mottos, what might they be? How's about, let's just be honest, we're not going to take God off the coinage. Instead, how's about they say, we hate God, because that is what this is about.
Just a couple more from Toddy Boy. So up next was, we mutilate 8-year-olds, which I assume is referring to gender reassignment surgery, which, no, we don't. Mutilating would be surgically altering a child, which, according to Aetna, isn't allowable until the patient has reached 18 years of age. What is typically done for younger children in affirming their gender identity is hormone therapy to delay the onset of puberty. Hormone blockers are totally reversible and would in no way constitute mutilation. What would constitute mutilation of children would be things like circumcision or female genital mutilation, which are commonly religious practices. So another slogan for you theists. Well, no, that's actually not fair. You don't mutilate 8-year-olds. You mutilate infants. And then Todd's grand finale for his personal thought-up slogans, we hate God. Except that, as previously stated, and at its core the unifying tenet of all atheists everywhere, we don't believe in God. It's tough to hate something you don't believe in. We may have noticeable animosity towards Christian fundamentalism, and you may be misinterpreting that as hatred for God, but that just goes to show your Christian hubris when you substitute your faith for God himself in your own mind. As previously stated, we don't like it when you Christians try to force your Christian worldview on people who don't share your faith through legislation or state codified placement of religious doctrine in places where it has no business being, like in schools. And for that, yes, we get offended, even angry. But that's anger at you, Todd. Anger at people like you who are infringing on our freedom from your religion. And you choose to see that as hating God because of your Christian ego. We don't hate God. We hate what people like you do in the name of a fictional character that you call God.
Happened to receive some emails from some people suggesting there are other national mottos that could replace "In God We Trust." This was sent in from Jonathan. If you can think of a national motto that the atheists would embrace, please leave it in the comments below. These are from Jonathan.
Oh, so now we get some slogan from Todd's viewers. They're getting to weigh in with some of their own epic fails. Well, why restrict things to just Todd being a knob when we can open the floodgates for others to do so as well? Let's see what some of the other wretches have come up with.
Just be yourself, unless you're a Christian. Unity, freedom, and justice for most. We believe in choice. Would you like to be canceled, doxxed, or killed? It's a little long, Jonathan, so you might just want to tighten that one up a little bit, but I like it. The wages of Christianity is death. Could be the new motto. If Christians go to heaven when they die, then let's kill them now. That's a little aggressive, Jonathan. We will decide how to love your neighbor. In U.S., we trust. See what he did there? U.S. In United States. In us, we trust. Reality is what you make it, unless you owe me money.
Ouch. Jeez, Todd. Why did you put these up on your show? Was it just to embarrass this Jonathan guy? Or no, better yet, it was to make the ones that you came up with seem smart by comparison, right? Because these last few from Jonathan were so bad, it really does make your earlier ones seem better. So, throwing Jonathan under the bus for your own benefit, I guess. Wow, okay, so I'll try to get through these quickly as they don't deserve real attention. So just be yourself unless you're a Christian. Ha ha, ha ha. No, everyone should be themselves. But if being yourself requires that you infringe on other people's rights, then no, bad. Stop it.
Stop it. Get some help.
Murderers being themselves means that they murder, then they shouldn't be themselves. Abusers being themselves mean that they abuse, then they shouldn't be themselves. Christians being themselves means that they impose their religion on others against their will, then Christians shouldn't be themselves. It's not that hard, guys. Stop infringing on other people's rights. Then there was unity, freedom, and justice for most. Once again, this sounds like a perfect Christian slogan because Christians get to be unified and have their religious freedom and justice. But anyone who isn't Christian, tough shit. Follow Christian edicts or get out. Isn't that the often repeated slogan so regularly spouted by so-called Christian patriots? This is a Christian nation, and if you don't like it, you can get out. Then there was we believe in choice. Would you like to be canceled, doxxed, or killed? Don't talk to us about who kills who and gets away with it. Then he had the wages of Christianity is death. Same as the last one. Atheists are not out here killing Christians. I hate to break it to you, but this is not ancient Rome. No one is throwing Christians to the lions. The only way the price of Christianity is death is when Christians try to use their religious freedom as an excuse to not get vaccinated and then end up dying of preventable diseases. Which is less the wages of Christianity is death and more the wages of stupidity is death. But hey, why split hairs? Then there was, if Christians go to heaven when they die, then let's kill them now. Again, atheists aren't out here killing Christians nor calling for Christians' deaths. And boy, just hammering home that myth of Christian persecution, aren't you? You know you're in the same category as those buffoons who claim that straight white males are the most persecuted demographic in America today, don't you? In that you're just coming off as clownishly stupid when you make claims like this. Try to understand, Todd. You are a part of the overwhelming religious majority. Your group has an insane amount of political and cultural power. And your side is the side with a history of out-and-out killing those who dissent. Or are you unfamiliar with a few things like the Spanish Inquisition, the Salem witch trials, or heresy laws both throughout American history as well as in other countries all the way up to today? Is this one of those things where your side spends generations doing something bad, and then when you finally stop, you get nervous that those that you've wronged are going to turn around and do the same thing to you? That's it, isn't it? Fear that turnabout is fair play? Well, let me set your mind at ease. We don't want to kill you, Todd. We never did. We want you to stop being an oppressive tool. Then there was, we will decide how to love your neighbor. I'm not sure I even get that one. Each individual decides how to love their neighbor, or if they want to love them at all. So many of your Christians just totally forget to abide by that one at all. Or maybe your idea of loving thy neighbor is to monumentally oppress them. But yeah, if your idea of Christian love is taking away people's rights, denying their personhood or personal identity, or the kind of ideas that you've professed in this video, then once again, keep that kind of love to yourself. Then there was In U.S. We Trust, which is exactly the same as the previous dealt with In Government We Trust, so just reiterate what I said for that one. Then you round things off with reality is what you make it unless you owe me money. Because no Christian has ever sued someone to get financial satisfaction for disputes or wrongdoings. What the hell, Todd? I thought you Christians were unabashedly capitalist. Isn't one of the common criticisms you spend a lot of your time talking about atheists is that atheism is too communist/socialist for your liking? So which is it? We atheists either want to collectivize all the money so no one owes anyone anything, or we're all too capitalist and insist on rigid adherence to debt law. Or, of course, neither have anything whatsoever to do with atheism, seeing as atheism is only about not believing in God, and it has nothing to do with anything economic whatsoever. So that was Todd's last slogan, and all of his painfully unfunny, epic fails of new slogans for atheists. Most of them had nothing to do with atheism at all. Many of them were pure projection, as they would be more applicable to Christians or theists in general. And what was left over was just such a gross straw-manning of common atheist standpoints that they don't even stand as misunderstandings. Because even the most foolish could get closer to actual atheist positions than this if they were honestly trying to do so. So that brings us to the end of our time with Todd, and it honestly couldn't have come a moment too soon. So thanks for watching, everyone. Don't forget to like this video, comment, and subscribe so you'll always be notified when a new video comes out. Until next time, I'm Professor Plink, reminding you to keep striving for greater understanding. It's the best way to get wherever you want to go.